Everyone, this is SnapShot coming to you from Dubai today. So I wanted to address a question we got in the Glue chat yesterday. And so the question was, does Glue have app chains? And I wanted to kind of elaborate on how we see that. So to me, an app chain is an L2 or whatever, a chain in some way connected to a relay chain of some kind that is specifically optimized for one single application. Right? That's what we're seeing in Cosmos. That's what Polkadot has a lot of, right? Where there's one, I guess, ownership group, maybe that's the wrong word, but right, one controlling entity that is taking an L2 of some kind and really optimizing it exactly for their use case. Now, to be fair, that has a ton of advantages, right? That way, the chain is really purpose-built for exactly the thing they're trying to do. Now, I think the disadvantage obviously is that it really fractures liquidity a lot. Right? You suddenly end up with potentially dozens or hundreds of chains, all of which are probably going to be dramatically underutilized, right? Because if there's one chain per app, unless that app fully uses the chain, it's just going to be very underutilized. And so our approach is different, right? Our approach is trying to figure out, hey, what are the parameters that a lot of use cases have in common? For example, for finance, you'd say, hey, you want to be very decentralized. You want it to not be congested, right? You don't want to have to wait an hour to be able to get a transaction through. And so you probably don't want whatever, a social network running on the same chain as a finance app, right? Because it's just going to jam things up basically. And so the idea is more, how do we pick use cases that go together really well, that have similar parameters for optimization that help them, and at the same time have synergies as well, right? That work together really well on one chain. And so the idea is to cluster them and to have an L2 that is specifically optimized and parameterized for that use case group. And the idea then though is, instead of having one app per chain, an app chain model, is to have much more of a use case chain model where you want to have as many apps as densely concentrated on the right L2 that is parameterized for them in order to make it as optimally optimized as possible, yet without fracturing the liquidity, right? So that to me is the distinction between more of a use case optimized model versus an app chain optimized model. And we are definitely on the use case optimized, not on the app chain side. And so I just wanted to highlight that. I think it's gonna be way better scalability wise. I think it's gonna not fracture liquidity as much. And I think it has most of the benefits of an app chain model without a lot of the trade-offs. So that's it for Glue.